And yes! Welcome! My name is David O'Doherty, and this is my favorite gig of the. It's my annual Christmas slash New Year's special, and it's different this year. Could there be a more apt way to begin it than not by walking out in front of a beautiful venue with a nice crowd, a warm round of applause? Instead, hitting the record button on my shitty mobile phone. My phone, which I have mounted on a stepladder. There's a pile of books, and then the phone is up the top, and I've gaffer taped it at a curious angle to take all of this in. Let's go. This is my basement. Welcome to my basement. After 20 years of stand-up comedy, I finally become a vlogger. Fulfill my destiny. Doing webinars. That's what this is. It's a strange. I feel a pressure doing a gig in my own house. Well, part of it is just worry that someone could call to the front door over there. I don't know what we're going to do if that happens, because this is a one-take wonder. I'm just going to go straight through 50 minutes. You'll hear the doorbell, and I'll just have to go, and you'll be staring at the penguin then for a minute and a half. Also fear that the neighbors are just through that way, and what if they hear this? They know there's no gigs going on in Ireland at the moment. They'll just be like, what's he doing? He's doing a little show on his own. Oh, he's inflated the sad penguin of Christmas, and he's just he must really miss that job. I do. Like one of those people who's fired from their job and then still gets dressed every morning and drives to a car park by the beach and stares out to sea for 8 hours. That pretty much is me. That is me. Haven't done an actual gig since the 7th of March. So let's just try and feel our way back into this. Oh, I'm in the mood. Oh, yeah. The pre-show party went very well. A lot of the big celebs in the kitchen for that. Andre Rieu, of course, is there. He's a big fan. And the woman from the Travago ads. And Cher, the singer. Yeah. Cher, do you know she's married to the comedian Ross Noble? A lot of people don't know that. And that is why she just uses her first name. Because it would be Chernobyl. Too bleak, alright. See, I can still do this. I remember. But at the same time, let's just begin the gig by just feeling our way gently into it by conducting a few basic checks. Check, check, the mic's alright. Got my phone and some lights. Got the stool and the leads. Going to the Yamaha keys with the long life batteries. I've thought of things to say and I've memorized them. And you have come along today and you're watching this on a chair that's hopefully facing in the right way. But before we get too carried away with all the excitement and anticipation, I think it would be good if all of you could please lower your expectations. I mean, it should be pretty good, but if you approach it like it's not going to be that good, then if it is good, you'd be like, that's actually pretty good. As opposed to just expecting that it's definitely going to be awesome, in which case you might end up going, that was only pretty good. It happens sometimes when you go to see bands. We do not want an anticlimax on our hands. Because, like, these circumstances aren't ideal, but I guess we're all used to that now. That's kind of been, like, the last 10 months. Like, it's okay, it's near, we're doing our best, it's near, everything is near, it's like, you know when you make hot chocolate with water, it's nearly, gluten-free pizza, everything's just slightly off. Like learning to cycle in a graveyard. Please lower your expectations. Sure, I want you to find this show surprising, but surprising in a good way. Not like finding a body in your bath, more like finding that your friend has grown a mustache. I mean, I think the one thing we've all learned is going forward to just be aware. When you go out on a date, lower your expectations. When you vote in an election, lower your expectations. When you buy anything on eBay or from now on, every year on New Year's Day. Now are your expectations all set pretty low? Yes, thank you. Let's go. We're in. I miss all of this. I miss you. Like, I know you're there, but I still, even annoying parts of this job, I miss now. I miss, like, getting trains. I always hated that, but I miss it. I miss meeting people in the venue before the gig. That's just always, it's just awkward more than anything, because it's a strange, people don't know what to say to you. It's like meeting a teacher during the summer holidays vibe, you know what I mean? They're just like, you just yeah, people always say you better be funny, and they go like this, which is a threat. For a long time I wasn't sure what that was, but now I think it's miming playing the keyboard, as if to remind me what is expected of me at the gig. Like going up to Pavarotti before his show and being like, you better be very, very loud, you know? I miss that. I miss, like, just applause. That used to be so nice. People would clap. Even in the last few years when applause was cheapened by Fitbits and those things where the lights come on when you move your hand and it would reveal people's taut, miserable faces. I still miss that. The thing I really miss, though, is just being in a room with a load of strangers and laughing. Do you remember that? Just sharing our droplets. Just aerosoling spume hither and thither. I really miss that. That's how I used to judge how successful my gigs were, by the quantity of spume. It'd be like 6 jugs of spume some nights. I miss all of that. And now, I mean, maybe it'll never come back. Maybe it'll just be one of those things that in the future people be like, what? People used to just laugh at each other. That's ridiculous. They look back on it like sending children up Victorian chimney sweep children. You know, you'd never do that anymore. It'd be just a lost art, like barrel making, or maybe I'm a star of the silent movie era and now we've moved on to the talkies, the TikTokies. I miss all of you. I can't see you, but I know you're there. I sense our connection. Hello. Like, I never used to talk to audiences very much, just because there were people much better than me at just weaving audience responses into these golden carpets. Someone like Dara O'Brien. I think my failing in terms of audience banter was always, I would pick the most boring people and their answers would be, to my questions, would be so sad. Just waves of existential dread would wash across the audience. I'd be like, what do you do for a living? And they'd be like, I replace the cartridges, the toner cartridge in multi-story car park ticket validation machine. And everyone would just be like, oh, is that a life? I miss it all. Hopefully it comes back now. I was enjoying the last gigs I did were so fun. I was getting ready for a big tour, and I did like an Australian tour. I was getting ready for that, and so I did a tour of Irish regional arts centres, and it's some of the most fun gigs I've ever done. It's just such a nice, it really keeps you grounded, because you go to those out of the way venues and generally you look, what else is on here? And the other stuff they have on, cover bands, and that's always slightly disappointing, because I've been doing this for 20 years and I'm still not as big as not Bon Jovi. Then clairvoyance. For some reason, people in rural areas have a lot of big questions to ask the dead. I think because a lot of stuff gets buried in rural areas. So you're like, sorry, can you ask Auntie is it the top field? And then 10 steps forward and 5 to the right. And then Slimming World was the other big one. And the first time I encountered Slimming World was at the Arts Centre in Cavan. It's like a community centre, arts centre. And there was a sign up that said, today, David O'Doherty and Slimming World. And I presumed it was a band, if I'm honest. I just saw it and thought, that is a brilliant name for a band. Because it's that nice sort of grungy, reductive thing. Is that all we've become? Just a diet planet, you know? And I go into the venue then, and I need to sound check, and I'm like, can I go into the room? And she's like, oh, was Slimming World's on there? And I'm like, I really want to see them. And I went in, and no, it wasn't a band. Well, in a way, it was a Weight Watchers cover band. I've managed to achieve, a level of, I wouldn't say fame, but a level of vague familiarity that I'm very proud of. Like some people like this. It's a niche appeal. And it tends to happen in the most unlikely places. Before any of this, in January, I was in an aquarium, like a fish aquarium shop, and I have never received a welcome. It was like Elvis had walked in. I needed to buy gravel. I don't have fish, but I had an infestation of flies, in that little flies, and the larvae were living in the pot plant. So the internet said, get aquarium gravel and put it up. You don't need to know this much. This is the Christmas special. Skip that. And so I turn up at Age of Aquariums, the shop, and the guy is on the phone when I walk in, and he sees me, and he just goes, fuck! And he hangs up like that. And I don't know how to react, so I just smile and I mosey down to the gravel section, and I'm trying to find the correct gauge of gravel. And a lady comes out from the door at the back, and she's carrying a box of plants, and she just goes, whoa! And then just goes back again. And then the man at the reception, at the till, he then puts on one of my albums in Age of Aquariums, and like, I'm not sure how are you supposed to react. Like, am I supposed to be like, good one, me? So I woke up with the gravel then, and he's like, I can't believe you're here. Like, we've never had anyone like you. And I'm like, really? Is this? And it definitely was a big deal, because there were 4 tanks to my left, and all of the fish had come over, and they were like, yeah, it's him. That is him. So that going forward, I'm going to play to a different crowd. I'm going to play on reefs, submarines. It's not my greatest ever showbiz tale. My greatest ever showbiz tale is maybe 5 years ago in Milton Keynes. I'd done a gig in the Stables, one of my favorite venues ever. And I'm checking into the hotel after the show, late night, into the Milton Keynes Hilton, who is the least well-known of all the Hilton sisters. And the night porter is there, and he is clearly loose, but it's fine. It's just I think room 303, I think, is the one he gives me. And I go up to the room, open the door. The TV is on in the room. Not that uncommon in the chain hotels. I guess it's to welcome you. But get this. On the TV is me. Like, it's my voice. I can't believe, like, this is it. I've arrived. And I sort of moonwalk into the room. And as the room opens out, there is a fully naked man lying on the bed. So, they've given me the key to someone else's room, but he is lying there watching me on the TV, and then he looks up and he sees me. And I wish I'd had the wit to think of something smarter to say, but all I can think to say is just, that's me. And then I just walk out. I just stroll back out there, leaving, I'd say, a very confused man who's just like, what? Does this just happen? It does, yeah. If you watch any of my comedy in the nude, yeah, I appear. Yeah, take your clothes off. Okay, now, I've written a Christmas song, and I think this is a good song. I'm looking at this time next year, this could be maybe not bigger than Jingle Bells, but certainly bigger than Good King Wenceslas, or one of the sort of second division Christmas songs. While you're stringing up your mistletoe, spraying on the fake snow as you untangle Christmas lights with each Christmas card you write. There's a place not far from here where there is no Christmas cheer, just groans and unpaid overtime and the shrieks of tired reindeer. And the guy who's at the top screams out across the workshop, there's a living hell going on behind the tinsel. There's an arsehole in charge at the North Pole. North Pole arsehole. Santa's only based at the North Pole for tax reasons. And because there's no unions. You're free to go whenever you like, he says to the elves. You're as free as the polar bears. And the reindeer will find your bodies when they thaw it in July. Santa has never employed a female elf. Should it only distract the lads? And one of them would end up getting up the duff. And who pays maternity then? Only old Muggins here. Ho, ho, ho. And when he says ho, 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 he's being sexist. Santa insists on playing talkback radio in the workshop, where people ring in who have quite anti-elf opinions. They're sneaky. They're always planning something. They should go back to where they came from. Elf Salvador. Under the pretense of checking if they've been bad or good, Santa hacks into the elves' social media and email accounts. I know when you're sleeping. I know when you're awake, so you better be good or I'll post your nudes online. So this Christmas, before you rip open that box, ask yourself, is it glue holding it together or is it the tears? The tears of an elf. I like Christmas. I mean, I don't go in for the whole magic kind of side of things. It was really about accumulation when I was a child. It was about pestering grown-ups to buy you things. I remember 85. I just wanted Star Wars action figures. That was all. Just, Mum, Dad, in order to remain a credible boy, I am going to need Star Wars action figures. Now, the problem here is that you're dealing with my parents. My dad is a jazz musician, and my mother is the full-time carer for a jazz musician. So they'd be like, oh no, we'll get you a gift to unlock your artistic potential. We get you a kite you can paint. Not another kite that I can paint. But luckily I had my godfather as well, and he was always good for a decent present. So I asked him and his wife Helene, Niall and Helene, hello, and they came good. Under the tree, a few days before Christmas, appears this packet. It's clearly, I squeeze. You're allowed to squeeze it. It's in the Bible, isn't it? I think it's Leviticus. Thou canst squeeze the present, but not pull open the sellotapey corners. Some of the Bible's quite ambiguous, but that one's very straightforward. And so the days leading up to Christmas, I'm just fantasizing about who is in this present. Is it like Luke Skywalker, Darth Vader, ultimate good and evil? What if it's the more complex characters, you know? What if it's Lando or like Han Solo or Princess Leia? Who's it gonna be? And it all builds up to Christmas morning, run down, rip it open. And yes, finally, my first 2 Star Wars action figures. I didn't recognize them immediately, but I had a neighbor who knew everything about Star Wars, so I took them into him, and he didn't recognize them either. But he had a wall chart with all of the characters, and we went along and we found them. And my godfather had got for me Reese and 2-1B Medibot. Now, if you're not familiar with them, I would say they are the 2 most obscure possible Star Wars characters. Reese appears in a tracking shot in Jabba's lair. You don't know if he's a goodie or a baddie. Why is he there? He's possibly just a neighbor, and he dropped in to ask what day the green bin goes out. 2-1B Medibot is a medical healthcare drone. like an x-ray or a dialysis machine. But I struggled on with them, trying to have fun. It was difficult though, because like I'd take them in the bath and they'd both just float listlessly, staring down into the depths, like Dustin Hoffman in The Graduate. I'd take them out to the garden, and they'd have these conversations like they're in a Samuel Beckett play, which is like, should we go to the shed, Rees? And it's like, we went there yesterday, Medibot. Every day just keeps repeating. Is this all there is? You know? They were like, they'd nothing to say. They were like two businessmen who just happened to be staying in the same 3-star hotel. It's cold out today. No, it's not. It's quite warm. But I persevered. I tried to have fun. On about the 6th month mark, you could tell they didn't like each other because the dog attacked Rees and pulled his arm off. And like Medibot, this could have been Medibot's time to shine, but he didn't really give a shit. He was like, well, these things happen. But I just wanted them to go on adventures. So I started pestering my parents for, I want a spaceship. I want Christmas 86. I need something for them to fly away on, to achieve their potential. And, well, a few days before Christmas 86, a big box appeared under the Christmas tree in the O'Doherty home with my name written on it. And I'm like, yes! I shook it, big lump of plastic. What is it? It could be like Millennium Falcon or X-Wing fighter. Oh, Christmas morning, just couldn't wait any longer. Ripped it open. But it wasn't a Star Wars spaceship. It was this. And that's how this horse shit began. This is, I think this might be the only song that I've written in lockdown. I'm running down the street. It's dark, but I'm trying to stay in the shadows. The only sound I can hear is my own heart beating in my ears. If I'm caught, I have no alibi. There's only one reason why a grown man goes out at 1 a.m. on a Tuesday during a global pandemic holding a toasted sandwich maker. I'm gonna put it in a neighbor's skip. It has never worked. It was in the house when I moved in. Whenever I think it's time to get your shit together. In this pandemic, there's been too much say yes to the dressing gown by you. It's time to get your shit together, and getting your shit together begins with getting rid of that toasted sandwich maker. Uh-oh, here comes a woman with a dog. I slow down to walking pace. Good evening, I nod. She nods back, smiling, like it's a normal thing to be doing, for me to be taking a toasted sandwich maker for a walk. She knows what's going on. She knows I'm a bad boy. She just walked past the skip. And now I'm at the skip. I stop. I look up the street. I look down. Complete silence. I drop it in. There was a window in the skip. Now I'm sprinting as fast as I can. Up the road, I'm hearing sirens in the distance. Is that the police helicopter overhead? I run across the South Circular Road. Then I go over the canal, and then back at the lock gates, and then over another bridge, and back again. I run basically a loop around the city. I run till I can't run anymore. My prints are all over that. I don't want to go down for a toasted sandwich maker. Eventually, I get back to my house. I'm panting. I'm on the railings. I listen out. Silence. There's nothing. I've done it. You've absolutely done it. Put my key in the door. Right then, the woman with the dog is walking by. She smiles again. She sees I'm not carrying anything. Yeah, that's right. She knows. I'm a bad boy. I'm a bad boy. I'm a bad boy with no toasted sandwich maker. Thank you. It's been a year of plans just gone asunder. Really hasn't. 2020 was going to be the year I became a street magician, just coming up to people. You couldn't do that. I was going to try and qualify for the Olympics at Twister. The Olympics was cancelled. Couldn't practice my twistering. It was a bad year for my choir and my fight club. and my orgies. It's actually the same group. We do all three. There's a debate every week as to which you should do first. Because if you open with the Fight Club, no one feels like doing the orgy. But then if you open with the orgy, there's very little choir going on. It's a tricky balance, really. I was meant to be touring for the whole year. I was going to do Australia and America and Europe, and then a big British tour, and then a load of Irish dates. And yeah, nothing like Australia. I do miss Australia. Maybe just because it's so far away, but I love Adelaide. There's a fringe festival in Adelaide that I always have such a laugh at. It was actually the last place where I was nearly punched in the face. I'd say, how many times have you been punched in the face in your life? I'd say 5 times. Because I used to do a lot of sport. It used to happen then. I remember the last time I was punched in the face was when I was about 30. I was walking along Nassau Street in Dublin, and a group of 16-year-olds were walking towards me, and as we passed, one of them just went bop. And I remember the moment of contact. I remember just thinking, well, I hope this is the last time in my life that this ever happens. But then it nearly wasn't, because of Adelaide. It's a fringe festival, so it's not just comedy. You get to hang out with performers from other art forms. Got very friendly with a French-Canadian clown troupe, and we would go for a beer after our respective shows. Now, there's one night in the Adelaide Fringe, which is a month-long festival, where Adelaide also hosts Australia's most famous motor car race. And so the Fringe Festival arts crowd is kind of overwhelmed by people who are there for the motor racing. And there's a big rivalry in Australian motorsport between Ford and Holden. Holden's like an offshoot of Aussie General Motors, I think. And what I didn't know is that the night before the big races, they like to go around and have fights. So I'm with the French Canadians. We're in a little outdoor cafe. It's a lovely evening. And then this mob come round the corner, and one of them runs towards me. I think I was wearing a cap, which is the universal symbol of I'm interested in engines. And he goes like this, and he goes, "Are you Holden or Ford?" And it was a question that I'd never thought about. I should note here, at this point, my French-Canadian clown troupe, rather than come to my assistance, all suddenly are in their little mime boxes. And word of advice, if you're ever faced with a binary choice like that, by someone who's about to punch you, and that person has one of the possible options written on their t-shirt, go with that. So I said, "Ford!" And he was like, "Yeah!" And he ran off. I know, I think about it a lot. Just particularly in the era of influencing that we're in. Where people just take money to pretend they like things on Instagram. In a way, that's a truer form of influencing. Just going around and threatening people to like things. It's I like it. Yeah, that could be it going forward. Maybe that's what brands will do. People will come to you. "Are you Colgate or Sensodyne?" And I'll be like, "I'm Oral-B." And they'll be like, "Oh, hipster bullshit." And they all beat me up then. And we'll do a song. This song is interesting because it took place, I'd say, 20 feet over there. A man moved on to my road, and he had a motorbike that was so loud. When he started it up at exactly 7:03 each weekday morning, the window would shake like brrr, and babies cry, and all the lights would come on. In the geriatric hospital, there's a geriatric hospital like just there. And one time a nurse came out to complain, and he sat on it in his black leather suit, revved the engine and said, "Sorry love, I can't hear you," before roaring off up the road like a fucking prick. and it filled me with such rage. I couldn't get back to sleep, kept awake by the purest form of hate, and the certainty that this prick is everything that's gone wrong with the world. You're fracking, you are Trump. You're sexual harassment. You're the sale of arms to oppressive regimes, and then those regimes buying my favorite football teams. You're the person parked in the wheelchair space outside our local supermarket. So my mother has got a wheelchair badge. We go down to the supermarket. I'd say 8 out of 10 times, there's only one wheelchair space. Someone's parked in it, usually someone in a 4x4 like a Range Rover. Very often, they haven't even got out. Like, they're just sitting in the car, just drinking a coffee. And we'll pull up, and I always point to the badge, just to try and be sound. And, hi, yeah. And so often they're like, just give me 5 minutes, I'm just finishing the coffee. You fucking piece of shit. Then one morning at 7:10, I was woken by a ring at the door, and he was standing there in his black leather suit, but with tears in his eyes, like a sad cosplay Darth Vader, 'cause someone had stolen the motorbike. And for the first time I could see the sadness in his life, his toxic divorce, how his kids think he's a prick, the job he hates, the sad microwave meals. That must be the saddest sound in any divorce, the first time you pierce the film of a microwavable meal. For one, his emotional pain was louder than his motorbike. But I didn't say any of that. I just said, I'll keep an eye out. But I'll be honest, I frickin' didn't. And a few weeks later, he moved off the road. But I'd love to think that years from now, he'll come back one day. This time for treatment in the geriatric hospital. And they'll remember him from years before, and the nurse will take him to the special room that they've been keeping for years. And when she starts up the engine of his stolen motorbike and locks the door, he'll be like, let me out! She'll say, sorry, love, I can't hear you. And he'll think, maybe I shouldn't have been such a fucking prick. Oh, on the subject of this house, I've got oh yeah, I have to do this then. So this yeah, okay, I'll give you a warning. This song freaks out some people. I grew up in an old house, and once a year a mouse would appear in the most horrific possible place. Once on my like I open my eyes and he's just standing there. He's not scared, he's just like, hiya! Once in breakfast cereal, I need to make this clear, it was in the breakfast cereal. And it was the era where toys used to come in breakfast cereal. Mum would be like, what you win? I won a fucking mouse. And he didn't just like he somersaulted out and he'd lay in the Cocoa Pops for a minute just up at me. Hiya! Oh, Anna was my second bowl. Sorry, that is the most psychologically damaging part of that. Years went by, and this little guy, me there, became a very scared of mice man. And I got a place of my own, and it was full of mice. So I paid a man 400 euros to do whatever needed to be done. We didn't discuss what he was going to do. The company is called Rentokil. You don't have to tell Rentokil, which the clue I feel is very much in the name with Rentokil. They're not like Mamo Relocate. They're not like Befriend and then Double Cross. They're just like Death Wagon is coming to fuck you squeaky pricks up. Sometime later, there was an issue in this house with very, very low water pressure in the taps. And the plumber came. And he said, did you at any point have an issue in this house with mice? And I was like, I do not like that. I do not like. How dare you? Yeah, perhaps. What's going on? And he said, so they put down a chemical that dehydrates the mice. So they go outside to search for water. But if they can't find a way outside, they smell water in the tank in the attic, and they all make their way up, and they dive into the tank and drown. And over the course of the next 6 to 8 months of the tank filling and emptying, the nutrients are washed from their bodies till they're just skeletons, and then the skeletons sink to the bottom and they get sucked into the top of the pipe. Do you know what he said then? He said, yeah, that's all it was. Oh, is that all it was? Is that all it was? I said, are you telling me that every cup of tea for the last 6 months has been mouse juice? And he's like, no, you idiot. That was the freshwater pipe. This would just be showering and brushing your teeth. Brushing your teeth. Brushing your... Hiya, hiya, hiya. But I'll be honest, in trying to come to terms with this awful news, I actually don't think I'm scared of mice anymore. Probably because my own DNA, my own essential self is now over 90% mouse. Hiya! Yeah, it's heavy. Sorry, that song is very heavy. So yeah, I mean, let's tie all this up in a neat bow now. How's your pando been? A lot less pandas than I was expecting, if I'm honest. It's been hard. It's been awful. If I can think of a good metaphor for the last 10 months in my life, I remember when I was about 25 going for an STD test with Dr. Friedman. And he did the various things. And then there's a point in the man STD test where he takes out a Q-tip that's way too long. And you're like, there's no way. And then, yeah, it is. And so he pops it down. In many ways, it's the opposite of a COVID test. And there's a point where the road narrows. And to get it down the rest of the way, the good doctor needs to just bongo the top of it. And at that point, I winced with a very unique pain. And Dr. Friedman said, if this didn't hurt, there'd be something really wrong. And that, it stayed with me, that sentence. And about 4 years later, one of my friends went to Dr. Friedman for the same battery of tests, same thing, pops it down, bongo, and at the point of maximum pain, Dr. Friedman goes, well, if it didn't hurt, there'd be something. So my friend's like, you won't believe what he said. And I'm like, did he say if it didn't hurt, there'd be something? And my friend's like, how did you know? And then the revelation that he probably makes that joke 10 times a day. And it's a joke that no one has ever laughed at because they're in such great pain, but still he persists with it. And that's real comedy. That's a true comedian there. But I think that is the metaphor for 2020. If it didn't hurt, there would be something really, really like it. I thought I would be better at dealing with all of this because I am a catastrophizer. In any given situation, I have always imagined the worst thing that could happen. Like school play, what if it's hit by a meteor? Family gathering, what if there's a volcano underneath my aunt's house? And I think that goes back to 1986 when I was 10 was the year. I grew up on a boring road where nothing ever happened. And then in 86, the tail of a Caribbean hurricane for some reason swept across and hit Dublin. And I woke up one morning and all of the cars that were normally just parked on the road in a line had just been washed into a pile at the end of the road. And that had a big effect, just thinking, oh, everything falls apart. I'll bear this in mind in the future. It's not what I thought a pandemic would be like. I imagined it'd be more like me going off to get food with a shotgun and my trusty Alsatian walking through the barren streets, going up to the zoo to shoot a lion to cook over a spit. But nah, it hasn't really been like that. It's just been buying undies online and doing jigsaws. It was the second week of March. That's when shit went down. I had three biggies. I had a breakup. All of my career was cancelled, and I moved to an island off the west coast of Ireland with my adorable 82-year-old parents to stop the tiny bats going into their crisp bag lungs. I moved to Achill Island, which is, I think it's the most beautiful place on earth. Just in terms of like, it's harsh. The wind flies across the Atlantic, and it's like, what the fuck is anyone doing living here? There's 6 trees on the island. They're all shaped like this. Go back to Dublin, you prick. And I was really struggling for the first few days. And then I had this moment of connection. I think it was a realization of, right, that things are going to change now. And it was good because I had another 4 months on the island. But this is day 3. I drank a lot of coffee and I was feeling very anxious, and I'd gone for a walk on this giant, beautiful beach, and there was no one for I needed to go to the loo, and not just, I needed to do the bad thing. And so I wasn't going to make it back up to the house. But I remember looking up the beach and there was no one. I couldn't see a single house. And I was like, well, let's just go on the rocks. So that's what I did. And I buried it like humans have done for thousands of years. But something profound happened in that moment of connection. As my SCART lead plugged into the earth, I think my brain just started to slow down a little bit. And it was, really amazing. Not necessarily in a good way. There were amazing parts to it. Just to see the love that my parents have for each other. It's so inspiring, the way they make each other laugh still. I learned a lot. I learned how to make soup. I learned that I was a giant baby. I did vaguely know that, but I really noticed it with my mother. It was every time you'd meet someone else who had a pram, Mum would always be, oh, what weight was she? And they'd be like, 6 pounds. And Mum would be like, 12 pounds! And I have to apologize again. I feel like, I'm so sorry, Mum. I don't think it was my fault. If anything, it was their fault for she gorging on. I think pasta had just come to Ireland, and consequently I'm in there just like, oh, Lord, like, no, whatever. It's not my. It's and Mum would always compare me unfavorably to my brother or sister. Be like, oh, that was like just spitting out a Tic Tac compared to this yoke was like lifting a tuba out of the boot of a Mini, and I would just have to be, I'm so sorry. But I think it could be why I'm a comedian, though, because my entry into the world was quite traumatic. It's something that my mother will always have against me. If she ever forgets my birthday, she can always be like, yeah, but you nearly killed me. My first view must have just been 2 midwives who were just like, God, what have you done? And I think that's where the comedy comes from. Just me like, sorry, jokes. I have a friend who, whenever you mention anything about times being hard or mental health, she will always say, yeah, but remember, we should be living in caves. We should be. And I get that, but I don't really get that much from, like, I know the logic, which is that 5,000 years ago, some of us were still living in caves, and effectively today we're still living with the same software. It takes, 50,000 years for evolution to move the brain on, so we still, when I think about it, I'm just not sure I would be that much happier if I was living in a cave right now. I don't think all of my problems and neuroses would magically disappear. I've seen the art that people in caves used to make, and it doesn't say to me blissful, everything is perfect. And to be honest, probably when people were living in caves, they were like, oh, I wish they were harking back nostalgia for the last thing. Oh, I wish we were still semi-amphibious. I wish we still had legs and gills. You could be like, today I'm gonna go back in the sea. It'll be interesting now what happens next. You know, the vaccine is starting to get rolled out in the next few weeks, but we're still in for a few more tough months. I am looking forward to it. When normality eventually returns, looking forward to doing, well, gigs will be fun. I'm going to get so healthy. That's the big one. Oh, like how healthy? So healthy that when I go into a cafe, I'll look at the coffees. I'll be like, no, I can't have any of those. They all bloat me. Could I get Americano made with sparkling water, please? And it's interesting because this year, 2021, represents the 20th anniversary of me about to get healthy. For the last 20 years, every time I've had a Snickers, I've been like, oh, I'm really gonna miss these. Every time I have a hot chocolate, I'll be like, oh, it takes me back to my childhood. And also last week when I had another hot chocolate. It's in terms of half-assedness, my health kicks, the only thing they're really comparable to is when the government announces a new environmental program. That level of half-assedness, because they never tackle the actual reasons why climate change is taking place. They're never like, oh, we'll tax aviation, or we'll take on the farming, the industrial farming. They're always just like, so it's environmental week. So if you're having an apple, remember, just peel off the sticker and recycle that, or maybe just put it on as a badge, and everyone can call you Jazzy Jazz Apple for the day. Now, if you're having an espresso, reuse the little it could be a top hat for a hamster, or use it as like a moon cup, something like that. It will be interesting to see what happens now, because there's definitely been a failure of governments, you know, throughout this. I mean, in Ireland it hasn't been too bad. We're lucky, I think, to make the changes that are necessary to make sure that this doesn't happen again. Hopefully our system of government is capable of responding. I'm not sure it is. We're supposed to have the most progressive sort of voting system. We have PR, proportional representation, but there is a Scandinavian version of that that's meant to be better. But I mean, I don't know. Who's to say if one system of voting is better than another? Like in Britain, they have a more traditional voting system where the Queen blows through the bugle of destiny, and a man called Blackrod in a medieval gown is fired from a cannon, and if he lands on a blue tile, it's the Tories, and a red tile, it's Labour. Who's to say one is better than the other? They're just different systems. Or like in America, they have a system where 5 billionaires stump up the cash so that a sex pest becomes president, so they means they can pay less tax. Who is to say one system is superior to the other? Hopefully it's the end of slogans. I mean, that hasn't worked out great. The last 5 years has been marked by get Brexit done and make America great again. And I don't think, well, either of those things have happened. It's definitely easier to be right wing, though. It's snappier. It doesn't work, but it's easier in your own mind. I realize this because I was right wing once when I was 15 years old. I was right wing for 5 minutes during the French oral exam as part of the state tests you have to take. I was bad at French, and I understood we were going to be talking about l'environnement, and I had learned quite a lot of vocab to do with that. And then I sit down, and she starts asking me about unemployment, chômage, and I've got nothing to say, so I fall back on the most basic possible French. So she's like, why is there so much unemployment? And I don't know how to talk about systemic problems in the world. So I say, because people are lazy. They like to rester au lit. And she is horrified. This is a good Irish Union member, school teacher, looking at this prick. She's like, oh yeah, well, what would you do to sort out unemployment? And again, my solution is very simple. Put them in prison. Dans le Bastille. Yeah, so, I mean, I don't know what's going to happen now, but that's been that's my Christmas show. I've had such a nice, I mean, we'll go out big. We will go out big now with this. Hopefully next year I can do this where there's actual people. I miss you all. Stay safe. I hope you're well. And when I said to people that I might do this, everyone I encountered said you have to finish with this song. So this is dedicated to you, members of Team O'Doherty. Thank you very much. I got. Oh my God! The mic's fallen. Wait, we're right at the end. This is. Wait. Testing. Oh, shit. Something collapsed. I hope it's come back now. Okay. We will. That's staying in. It was my shitty stepladder. It. Okay, sorry. I just got heckled there by a stepladder. 2020. You thought you could break me, but you were wrong. And now I'm gonna get my revenge through a song. I'm talking about my beefs! 2020! Shit's about to fly aplenty! My beefs 2020! Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear, oh. Let's do it! People on electric scooters! Yeah, you're in a real rush. Back to your childhood and the gifts you'd ever received. Pow! The popularity of scooters has coincided with what? Yeah, coronavirus. Are they linked? I think so. Have you ever seen people going around with their mouths open, gawping, corona everywhere? They're to blame! Brexit! Oh, Brexit. Threatening the fragile peace of this island. If you guys haven't heard about Brexit, Brexit is like when I was 8. I once counted the number of days to my birthday, and it was more than I thought, and I was so angry, I punched the calendar and broke my hand. Beefs! Billionaires! Why you don't need all of that money? What are you doing? Look, if all of the billionaires just got 1 million each, which wouldn't be that much to them, and gave it to me, maybe I would have a different opinion on billionaires. Super vet. Yeah, the Irish vet on that TV show. Stop putting wheels on cats. That's all you're doing. What's the cat's got a bit of a cold? Should we pop a few wheels on it, see where that takes us? Drivers. All of you, stop texting while you're driving. I see it. You swerving around the road while I'm on my bike. I don't want to be killed. And the reason I'm killed is someone was searching for a GIF. Chess! Yeah, the game, chess. You've had it too good for too long. I know chess is a hoax. Yeah, I'm a chess truther. It's not a real game. You're all pretending it is when I'm in the room. You're like, oh, magnificent opening. And then when I leave, you're just playing fancy drafts. I know what's going on. It's fancy drafts. Finally, people who say they've actually quite enjoyed 2020, you are the fucking worst. It's been an opportunity to decompress. You psychopaths! When life gives you COVID, make COVID a no! Get out of here! Hurry up, 2020! Get the fuck done! Or you risk being part of my beefs. 2021. That's it. And now, in the most undignified way possible, I will reach up and turn off the record on this phone. Happy Christmas. Happy whatever you're having. Have a great new year. And see you sometime.